Well, you know, the topic has never been hotter. Gun control is an issue that is dividing our country's politicians and citizens.
Just this year, Maryland passed one of the toughest gun control laws in the country. It bans the sale of assault-type weapons. It sets a 10-bullet limit on magazines. It requires fingerprints, a license, and training to buy a handgun.
In addition, the state can disqualify more people from gun ownership based on mental illness. Last week, Delaware's General Assembly passed legislation that expanded background checks to include sales between private parties, closing what many refer to as the gun show loophole. And Virginia, however, is more pro-gun.
Legislation passed this year protects the confidentiality of all concealed handgun permit holders in Virginia. Here's the question: is all this enough? Women on both sides of the debate have something to say.
It was the crime that horrified our country.
At least 27 people are dead. 27 people.
And the aftermath divided many. These women represent one side of the gun control debate. They're part of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America.
We were all just affected at our core, and we have to act.
One little child, one little baby getting shot is enough for me.
The group, which started in December, has 65,000 members and counting. Their goal is to gather 1 million moms and convince lawmakers to ban weapons of more than 10 rounds, require background checks, report sales of large quantities of ammunition, and limit the scope of concealed weapon laws at the state level.
It's easier for you to get a gun than it is to buy Sudafed.
Their demands come as more and more women are now picking up guns for sports and for protection.
I don't believe guns are the problem at all. I believe it's the people.
I need to be able to physically be able to handle whatever comes at me, if it ever does.
Gun violence is the second leading cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 19 in the U.S. But pro-gun organizations like the NRA say the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, calling on Congress to put armed security in every school across the nation. It's a debate that will likely continue for years to come.
Every social change that has happened in this country and in the world was precipitated by women having had enough. And that includes slavery, and that includes...
Now, no matter where you stand on the gun debate, most agree that gun training is a good idea.
In fact, at least one local gun dealer insists on it. And as I recently found out, there's a lot more to shooting than just pulling the trigger. Beth Parsons of Shooter's Choice knows how to properly handle a gun. She says training is crucial for anyone who plans to pull the trigger.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of times people will come in and they'll want to buy a gun, and their first gun ever, you know, without even shooting, they want like a .38 Special or some large caliber handgun.
So Parsons tries to ease them into gun ownership.
We try to sway them and say, okay, well, before you do that, why don't we go in the range and you can shoot one of our rental guns and see how it feels in a .38 Special, or we can set you up with training before you decide to buy. And most of the times, they're almost looking for you to point them in that direction.
Beth says she's seeing a lot more women wanting to purchase a weapon, but for some, the thought of shooting a gun can be intimidating.
Some are very scared to shoot a gun. They're loud. They can have a lot of recoil if they're not a smaller caliber gun. For somebody that is a first-time shooter and a first-time gun buyer, I'd recommend something along these lines, a .22 caliber.
And if protection is what you're looking for, Beth says this will do the job.
It's a good gun for home protection, even though it is a smaller caliber.
She says the first step in the training process is to learn more about the gun.
So this is a Ruger 10/22. It's a .22 long rifle. The proper way to hold the gun is to position the grip in your right hand.
Including how to position the gun to shoot.
Get your sight picture, and that's when you press your trigger. Okay.
From there, it's into the shooting range.
This is the gun that we were using in the training room.
That's where Beth showed me how to release the magazine, load it.
The back goes in this little slot.
Lock it.
Now, we release the slide by pushing down on that, straight down with your thumbs. That? Yep, just push straight down. There you go.
And shoot.
Bring it up to eye level. Get your sight picture. Concentrate on your front sight. And press the trigger towards you. Very nice. Wow. looks like you did really good.
Oh, wow, there it is.
Knowing how to handle and shoot a gun is only part of the process. You need to make sure your gun is safe from others, especially if you have children.
You have to think about your family's safety first, so that's why a lot of people will lock them up.
From gun locks to safes that can hold a small arsenal, to boxes that provide instant access in the time of danger, there are several ways to make sure these weapons don't get into the wrong hands.
They even have biometrics that it reads your fingerprint.
But Beth says all the education and all the security in the world will be useless if you don't talk with your kids about guns.
We can educate the parents all day long. They have to take it home and educate the kids. You're not to touch it. You know, if you see it, tell a grown-up.
Because most gun owners are hopeful, a shooting range is the only place they ever have to pull the trigger. And uncertainty over gun legislation has resulted in higher sales for gun dealers across the country, including Shooter's Choice. And if you're shopping for ammo for the gun, you may be out of luck. There's a shortage of ammo nationwide because of perceived threats to the Second Amendment.
Wow. You haven't fired a handgun a lot, have you?
No.
That was pretty impressive.
Thank you.
That was pretty impressive. Well, it is time for another round of Delmarva Life's guessing game. Where on Delmarva is Brian? He's going to give us the clues to try to figure that out.
Brian, we are ready for our first clue.
All right, Lisa and Jimmy, well, here is clue number 1. The location I'm in this afternoon has some well-known residents. Think about that for a little bit. I'll have another clue coming up later in the show. But first, I'm going to throw things over to my friend Rachel Ray. She has another handy how-to tip for you.
We all pick up these wonderful little inexpensive plants, sometimes even right down at the grocery store. Well, here's a couple of clever ways to display them. Pop them out of the little plastic tub, and how about for your next garden or backyard party, hollowing out a little melon. Put a little water down in it, and it becomes a perfect potted planter. Or you can take an extra colander or an old colander, plant the potted plant in there. It has great drainage. You could even turn it into a hanging basket. Check that out.